4 years. Over 700 enemy tanks reduced to burning wreckage. Stop and think about that number for a second. 700. That's not a statistic. That's a graveyard of steel spread across frozen Soviet marshes, burning French villages, and the shattered outskirts of Berlin. Commanding a tank in World War II wasn't glory. It was suffocation. You were sealed inside a metal coffin, breathing cordite and engine fumes, while 88mm shells screamed toward your position at over 800 meters per second. You had maybe 2 seconds to react. 2 seconds to either kill or be killed. Most tank commanders didn't survive 6 months. They were incinerated inside their hatches, crushed under collapsing turrets, or obliterated before they even figured out how to stay alive. These 5 men didn't just survive, they evolved. They became something the history books barely know how to describe: apex predators on a mechanized battlefield. And the deadliest one among them? He never received the recognition he earned. His body wasn't even found for 68 years. Today, we're revealing them all. And by the end of this video, you will never forget their names. April 1945, east of Berlin. The air tastes like burning oil and something worse. The metallic stench of a war that has already been lost. Hauptscharführer Karl Kroener grips the cold steel rim of his Tiger II's cupola, scanning the road below. His gloves are frozen. His eyes are not. Down in the village, Soviet armor sits clustered together, dozens of tanks, crews dismounted and refueling, completely unaware. Kroener isn't thinking about the end of the war. He's counting targets. His war had started years earlier as a heavy machine gunner on the Eastern Front, brutal, close-range, personal. By January 1945, he had clawed his way into the Tiger II battalions, carrying with him one philosophy that kept him breathing: see them first. Kill them before they know you exist. Never stay long enough to die. Over just 3 months of combat. 3 months, Kroener was officially credited with destroying over 100 Soviet tanks. His most terrifying engagement came near Ballersdorf in March. His Tiger erupted from tree cover onto a road absolutely packed with Soviet armor. There was no strategy now, just instinct. Fire, Kroener said, and the world caught fire. His gunner fired, reloaded, fired again, hands slick with sweat, lungs burning. Kroener called targets faster than his loader could keep pace. 39 tank kills before they finally withdrew through the smoke. His loader gasped, "We're dry." The records are disputed. Late war chaos swallowed documentation whole, but on April 29, 1945, 2 days before Germany's unconditional surrender, Karl Kroener received the Knight's Cross. Days later, his Tiger was destroyed in the street fighting near Berlin. He was 25 years old. A legend built in 3 months of pure desperation. Johannes Blauler had one rule he never broke: reconnaissance before aggression. It wasn't cinematic. It didn't make propaganda reels. But it kept him alive from the invasion of Poland in 1939, all the way to the final battles in the East, and it made him one of the most methodical killers in the entire Panzer Corps. Winter 1944, near Narva, Estonia. Blauler's Tiger sits hull down behind a snow-covered ridge, binoculars pressed to his face. 20 minutes of silence. His loader whispers, "Should we move?" Blauler doesn't answer. "They'll come," he says quietly. "They always come." Then movement through the pines. A full Soviet company of T-34s advancing across open ground. No cover. No retreat route. No escape. Now, the 88mm roars. The first T-34 erupts in a column of black flame. 11 tanks destroyed in 15 minutes. His confirmed total across the war, 139. He survived multiple wounds, earned the Knight's Cross with oak leaves, and lived until 1987. Otto Carius almost didn't become a tank commander at all. He was rejected twice, told he was underweight, physically unfit for armored service. The army didn't want him. By the time the war ended, he had been credited with over 150 enemy tanks destroyed, making him one of the most lethal men ever to climb into a turret. What separated Carius wasn't aggression. It was obsession. Before every engagement, he would personally scout the terrain, sometimes on foot, alone, before dawn, building a precise mental map of every sight line, every approach route, every shadow where a tank could disappear. His crew called it paranoia. Carius called it survival. July 22, 1944. Malinava, Latvia. The air is thick with summer heat and the distant rumble of Soviet engines. Carius and his wingman, Albert Kirscher, spot something through the trees: Soviet armor massing near a village, not just any armor. Iced to 2 heavy tanks. Machines that could punch clean through a Tiger's frontal plate. The only approach is a narrow forest road, barely wide enough for one vehicle. Kirscher's voice crackles over the radio, tight with fear. "That's suicide." Carius doesn't blink. "Follow me." His Tiger lurches forward, engine screaming, branches scraping the hull like claws. Speed is armor now. They explode from the tree line. The Soviets are still in formation. Crews are standing outside their tanks. The 88mm fires. The lead, iced to 2, disappears in a wall of orange fire, then another. The smell of cordite floods the cupola. In 30 minutes, 17 Soviet tanks are destroyed. Not a single German casualty. Otto Carius survived the war. He opened a pharmacy in Germany. He named it Tiger Apotheke, the Tiger Pharmacy. He wrote a memoir that remains required reading in armored warfare courses to this day. He died in 2015, aged 92, having outlived almost every enemy he ever faced. But the next man on this list didn't write memoirs. He became the most famous and most controversial tank ace in the entire history of warfare. June 13, 1944, Villers-Bocage, France. A British armored column has just punched through German lines. The crews are dismounted, smoking cigarettes, laughing. They think they've broken through. They think they're safe. They are catastrophically wrong. Michael Wittmann's Tiger Eye appears from a side street, tracks grinding on cobblestone, and he sees it all in an instant. Cromwell tanks lined up nose to tail on a narrow road. Crews standing in the open. It is not a battlefield, it is a shooting gallery. "Gunner," Wittmann says, voice completely level. Lead tank. The 88mm fires and the first Cromwell's turret lifts off in a sheet of white flame. British soldiers freeze. Cigarettes fall from open mouths. Then chaos men sprinting, engines roaring, screaming, radio traffic filling the air. Wittmann is already moving, rolling slowly down the column like a predator walking through a flock. Next, fire. Another Cromwell erupts. The street fills with oily black smoke and the sound of twisting metal. In 15 minutes, 14 tanks and 15 transport vehicles are destroyed. The British 7th Armored Division, the legendary Desert Rats, stopped cold by one man in one tank. That single action turned Wittmann into a household name across Germany. Propaganda posters, radio broadcasts, newspaper front pages. He was credited with 138 tanks and 132 anti-tank guns across his entire career, earning the Knight's Cross with oak leaves and swords. But controversy followed his legend like smoke. Many of his kills had come as a Stug commander before he ever climbed into a Tiger. Historians still debate exactly how many Villers-Bocage kills were actually his, and how many the propaganda machine quietly absorbed from the men fighting alongside him. What is not disputed, Wittmann was lethally effective. What is also not disputed, he died 2 months later. August 8, 1944. Operation Totalize Normandy. His Tiger was destroyed, blown apart, and Whitman was killed instantly. He was 30 years old. To this day, no one knows which Allied unit fired the shot that ended him. His killer remained anonymous. Just like the last man on this list who was denied recognition his entire life and then erased from history after his death. Kurt Nispel destroyed 168 confirmed enemy tanks. Some historians believe the true number was closer to 195. Either way, no tank commander in history, German, American, British, or Soviet, has ever come close. He is the single deadliest tank killer who ever lived. And he never received the Knight's Cross. Not once. Nispel didn't look like a propaganda poster. He grew his hair long and wore a beard when military regulations explicitly forbade it. He had a documented reputation for insubordination. One story, likely true in spirit if not in precise detail, claims he physically struck an SS officer he witnessed beating a Russian prisoner. That story, true or not, captures exactly who Nispel was. A soldier who cared about one thing and one thing only: killing enemy tanks. Not politics, not medals, not legacy. He began his war in 1940 as a loader in a Panzer IV, fighting through the invasion of the Soviet Union. By 1943 he was a gunner inside a Tiger, and that is when his tally began its terrifying ascent. What made Nispel different from every other ace on this list wasn't aggression like Kroner, patience like Blura, or preparation like Carius. It was precision, cold, almost inhuman precision. Eastern Front, 1944. Nispel's Tiger sits in a defensive position. Soviet T-34s appear on the horizon, moving fast across open ground. His commander's voice is tight. 3,000 meters. 3 kilometers. Most gunners wouldn't attempt it. Nispel presses his eye to the sight, cheek against the padding, breathing slowing. He watches the T-34s through the reticle, calculates, adjusts for wind, exhales, fires. The Tiger rocks backward. For 3 long seconds, nothing. Then the lead T-34 erupts. Turrets spinning through the air. His loader whispers, "My God." The Soviet column scatters. Nispel is already tracking the next tank. He was nominated for the Knight's Cross 4 times. 4 times denied. Some say it was his discipline record. Others say the award system simply favored commanders over gunners. The truth is probably simpler and uglier. Kurt Nispel refused to become the face they needed him to be. On April 29, 1945, the same day Kroner received his Knight's Cross, Nispel was wounded near Verbovic, Czechoslovakia. He died the next morning in a field hospital. He was 23 years old. For 68 years, no one knew where he was buried. His remains were not discovered until 2013. The greatest tank killer in history died in obscurity, forgotten by the very system that spent his life. 5 commanders, over 700 enemy tanks destroyed. Kroner, 103, Bludler, 139, Carius, 150, Whitman, 138, Nispel, 168. Each of them faced the same impossible odds: a metal coffin, an enemy shell with your name on it, and a decision that had to be made in less time than it takes to blink. 4 of them became legends. 1 of them became a ghost. All of them changed the shape of a war that the world is still trying to understand. What's haunting isn't the numbers. It's the gap between the man and the myth. Whitman got the posters. Nispel got a shallow grave that went unmarked for nearly 7 decades. History doesn't always reward the most deserving. Sometimes it rewards the most convenient. Remember that the next time you hear about a legend. If this story hit different, subscribe, hit the like button, and watch the next video. the 5 most lethal German fighter pilots of World War II, ranked by confirmed aerial kills. Same ruthless precision, same forgotten stories. Same question: how do men become this dangerous and what does it cost them?